The next global crisis is not going to be caused by which country has highest or biggest power. It is going to be caused by which country is willing to use the power that it holds. In this context, world today is quietly asking a question that which is the greatest threat to the world today, whether it is the Israel or Iran. So in this video, we are going to discuss and analyze in detail that which country is a greater threat to the world, Israel and Iran, and this particular objective of this particular analysis is to understand clearly and assess in the related terms how both countries pose a threat, and we'll try to be objective here while discussing it. At the same time, we'll also try to avoid any kind of ideological or a political bias. It would be entirely based on the use of verifiable historical as well as the strategic data. At the same time, we will also try to compare the capabilities and behavior of both nations in past 40-50 years as such. So let us try to decode this in more detail. Now, first of all, to understand which country is the biggest threat, whether it is Iran or Israel, we have to define the term what do we understand by threat itself. So, when we talk about threat, largely we are talking about a threat of war that seems to be looming large in the Middle East for quite couple of, we can say for couple of weeks, we can say not in couple of weeks, couple of months, we can say. And in this context, question is continuously being raised that the warfare that we are seeing is a kind of modern warfare, conventional warfare. What is the possibility of it transforming into a nuclear warfare? Because the biggest threat that every country in the world faces today because of crisis unfolding in any part of the world is when there is a possibility and a real possibility of nuclear escalation. Also, what is the intent of these countries? Whether these countries are having certain official doctrine that permits and prohibits uses of nuclear weapon. And we'll also try to understand that what kind of rhetoric the leaders of this country has continuously been giving out, either in the press briefings to the media or even at the international forums. Third, we have to understand how historically both these countries have behaved, whether they have behaved with a responsibility due to the power which they hold, or whether they were more erratic in nature, whether they have carried out and involved in many wars, and what kind of strikes they have carried out against the territory of each other. And also, we'll try to understand how countries are using proxies to fight their war and be a part of indirect warfare. Regional versus global impact, then we'll try to understand in last. Now, if you look at the background of this Israel-Iran rivalry, we know that till 1979, Israel and Iran had a friendly relation. Iran used to be a pro-US country, as the Shah of Iran was, we can say, friend of United States of America and other Western countries as such. However, in 1979, we know that there was a revolution in Iran. This revolution overthrew the regime of Shah and instituted a regime that was largely led by Ayatollah Ali Khomeini. It is this change, it is this transformation in the domestic politics of Iran that brought Iran Israel at confrontation with each other, and since then rivalry has continuously intensified. Since then, we have not seen any kind of direct diplomatic relations between Iran and Israel. Ongoing shadow conflict is something, however, it has been carried out both of covert nature as well as indirect nature. For example, we can think about the strike allegedly carried out by US and Israel, where it has used a cyber weapon to damage and destroy the programs of Iran's nuclear enrichment. That was called as that happened somewhere in 2013-14. And then we also see escalation in Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza. At the same time, we are seeing an increased threat of direct confrontation in recent year. Whether it is the year 2025, when both US and Israel again launched a joint operation against Iran, targeting majority of its nuclear enrichment site, nuclear centers such as Fordow, Natanz, there nearby Tehran and all. And since then, again, since the last 28th February 2026, we have seen that these countries have been a part of a direct warfare where other countries of Gulf also have to face the brunt of this. Now, the possibility of threat largely looms because of the nuclear status. So, we know that Israel, though compared to other nuclear capable countries of the world, has never made its nuclear program, nuclear capabilities public. But based on the understanding today, we know that Iran does have a nuclear weapon of itself. It is estimated that it holds somewhere about 80 to 100 nuclear warheads as such. And interestingly, Israel is not a member of nuclear non-proliferation treaty. At the same time, it is policy, it basically follows a policy of nuclear ambiguity. That means it does not clearly define that what is its threshold for use of nuclear weapon, whether Israel would use nuclear weapon for offensive capabilities or for only defensive capabilities or even for both. Third, who is its target? And thus overall we can understand that such kind of nuclear ambiguity creates create a general threat if there is a use of nuclear weapon in the future as such. At the same time, because Israel is known for development of advanced weapon system, it is believed that it has access to advanced delivery system. Many experts argue that Israel can deliver nuclear weapons by aircraft, it can deliver nuclear weapons by the land based missiles, and also maybe through submarines. That means there is a possibility Israel has nuclear triad. Triad means the capability to deliver nuclear weapons either through air, land, or sea. Now, if we talk about the nuclear status of Iran, Iran, as opposed to Israel, is signatory of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Officially, it believes that the use of nuclear energy should be for the civilian programs only. That means peaceful use is what Iran wants to do. That is its official status or official stance. It says that Iran would use nuclear, we can say nuclear science for the development, or we can say generation of energy as such. Uranium enrichment, however, near weapons grade is something that many US intelligence have flagged, that Iran has developed the capacity where its nuclear enrichment, uranium enrichment is very, very close to weapons grade level. That means Iran does not have as of now any nuclear weapon, but it is very close to that possibility where it can develop nuclear weapons. However, no confirmed nuclear weapons as of now. Threshold nuclear states. That's how strategic experts describe Iran as. Iran is not a full-fledged nuclear state like Israel, but it is a threshold nuclear state. It is at the cusp of developing nuclear weapons. And interestingly, if you try to look at this particular war that we are witnessing right now, here US and Israel have justified their attack, the attack they have carried out in large manner through the use of missiles, aircrafts, and all that, based on the single fact that Israel is a threshold nuclear state. Donald Trump clearly has stated that US and Israel can not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon of its own. So that's the point. Now, nuclear risk comparison, if we talk about Israel, as we have discussed, proven nuclear capability, Iran, it has a potential future capability. And that's why if you think about Natanz, we have discussed Natanz, we have Fordow. So these sites were targeted both during the 2025 attack, where US has used its bunker buster bombs, talk about using its B-2 bomber, or whether it is the recent attack of 2026. Israel's focus is more of a deterrence posture. Israel maintains that its nuclear weapon is an act of deterrence, basically is an instrument of deterrence, so that the other countries in the nearby areas, whether it is Iran, Lebanon, or other proxy groups, do not attack Israel in a manner that can that can result in a nuclear attack. Iran, on the other hand, has a lot of uncertainty because, first of all, it has not developed its nuclear weapon, and second, if it develops nuclear weapon, what kind of policy it would follow? That is creating a risk. The reason is because Iran never accepts the justification for the creation of the state of Israel or the nation of Israel in the landmass that we see Israel today. Iran clearly says that Israel does not belong here. The entire land belongs to Palestine. So there is no point for recognizing the Israel as a country. So that's why the risk is high, because if Iran gets its hand on a nuclear weapon, can it use it directly on Israel? Because it does not think it is a legitimate state. That is from where the larger risks come from. So overall, we can say that threat currently is between two countries, one nuclear capable, other at the threshold nuclear capability. And in future, if Iran gets its hand on nuclear weapon, the threat dynamics would change substantially, where we can see a kind of confrontation where both countries do not want to see each other in the same area of land, and that can develop into a full-fledged nuclear weapons and can draw other powers of the world as well. Now, let us try to analyze from the perspective of military actions how military or what kind of war Iran and Israel have participated in. So first, if you take a look at Israel, Israel has fought three major wars. 1948, that is when it was created as a separate nation. 1967, that is the 6 Days War, and then further in 1973. Now, in all of these wars, we can say unequivocally, Israel emerged victorious. An example of 1967 war, when 6 days for almost 6 days war went on, and several Arab nations actually colluded together to attack Israel. You can see at the end, Israel was not only able to repel the threat, it was also able to expand its territory, capturing Sinai Peninsula of Egypt and also a part of the Jordan and Syria as such. So Israel proved its mettle as far as the war is concerned. 1982 to 2006, we have seen Israel participating in the Lebanon conflict as well, largely because of the threat of Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a prominent political, we can say, party in Lebanon, which is continuously backed by Iran, and it consider Iranian leadership, Shia leadership, to be its guiding light. Frequent airstrikes in Syria, Israel has carried out because when Bashar al-Assad government or regime was instituted in Syria, Bashar al-Assad again was a proxy of Iran. It was working in a close cooperation and coordination with Iran, and that's why Israel was carrying out airstrikes in Syria as well. Preemptive strikes on various threats that it faced from the region, whether it is from the Houthis in Yemen, whether it is from the Hezbollah in Lebanon, whether it is from the Bashar al-Assad regime earlier in the Syria. So Israel was able to counter all of these threats and also to ensure. Also, we talk about Gaza, Hamas. Hamas also is considered as a proxy of Iran. So, in all these areas, Israel has carried out high-tech precision strikes, high-tech precision warfare. Most of these are preemptive in nature, so that in future they do not emerge as a significant threat to the Israel and the people of Israel. So that is all about the military actions. If we talk about Iran, Iran since 1979 has been one of the heavily sanctioned countries in the world. That's why, as far as the military capability is concerned, it is not as strong compared to Israel. The aircraft, the helicopters that Iranian Air Forces uses, still it is of the older times, that is Soviet designed or the earlier American design. So that's why it has not participated in direct warfare. But the one war where Iran has largely been involved was Iran-Iraq War in 1988, where war took place between Saddam Hussein, who that time was ruling Iraq, and the Iran government as such. Since 1988, however, there has not been any large-scale direct war that Iran has faced and has fought as compared to Israel. Now, what Iran has done is it has carried out large-scale missile and drone operations. And this is true even for this particular war as such, because you know that since 28 February 2026, we have seen that Israel and US has carried out strikes against many places, many sites of Iran as such. Iran has retaliated by launching large number of drones, swarms of drones, we can say. A cheaper drone it has created called as Sahid as such. Apart from that, also it has used its ballistic missile capabilities. For example, it is believed that Iran's missile technology is quite well developed as compared to other military power, as compared to its other military wings, and Iran has even a missile which can go as far as 2000 to 3000 kilometers as such. Sejil missile, for example, Iran has also fired even targeting the islands of Dio Garcia in the Indian Ocean. But overall, it has avoided any large scale direct conflict. There is no tank to tank warfare, there is no artillery to artillery exchange, no direct foot on soldiers, we can say soldiers on ground as such. So overall, we can say by looking at the entire couple of years where the war has become more intense, Iran has followed a strategic patience approach. It is trying to pressurize US and Iran, US and Israel by trying to talk with them, have diplomatic negotiations with them, as we are seeing in Pakistan, before that in Qatar, Oman. So now we look at the military behavior comparison. Israel has actually used a direct rapid response whenever it faces a threat. Iran, on the other hand, is more focused on indirect escalation. Israel follows the policies of offensive defense doctrine. That means it takes preemptive strike as a general mode of warfare. Whenever it seems to Israel that a threat might materialize in the future, it carries out strike first and before. Iran, on the other hand, is focused on asymmetric warfare. That makes sense because Iran is not as powerful as Israel as far as the military technology and military weapons capability is concerned. However, we can say that both are capable of escalating war in the region that can soon become a world war. An example of this we are seeing in this situation also when all the Gulf countries which host American bases, which are economic powerhouse of Asia to some extent, we can say, they have been targeted by Iran, and also the oil and gas infrastructure on which the revenues of majority of this country largely depends upon, they have also been targeted, disrupting oil supply to large market in the world. Now, if we talk about Iran, its expertise lie in the proxy warfare, and this we can understand from the fact that all around Israel, if you look, Iran runs a lot of proxies. We have discussed Lebanon, that was in Hezbollah, Bashar al-Assad regime, that was in Syria, now it has been decimated. Then we have Hamas in Islamic Jihad in Gaza at a close border of Israel. Then we have Houthi rebels in the Yemen as such, and also in the Iraq, we have several groups such as we can talk about Badr organization or Asab. All these organizations are largely affiliated to the Shia theocratic regime of Iran as such, and they from time to time has also carried out strikes on the behest of Iran. So it has led to expansion of influence because Iran, its power is no longer limited to its geographical territory. Its power is seen extended in the entire region, which is through its proxy asset. So it provides also Iran a plausible deniability. For example, if Hamas carries out attack, if Yemen's Houthis carried out attack, you cannot directly point that Iran was behind it. They can deny this. Sustains long-term pressure as well, and it has been used as a key strategic tool by Iran as such. So overall, to some extent, we can say at regional level, disturbances, confrontation, escalation is something that Iran has been capable of doing it, and it has been doing it by using a proxy. So proxy and covert strategy, as far as Israel is concerned, it is no longer, it is not using any proxy like Israel has such limited users had. However, what Israel has is a strong intelligence operation. It is believed that Israel was able to carry out mass scale, large scale assassinations of the top leaders of Iranian government, whether it is from Iranian military, whether it is from IRGC, and even top Hezbollah commanders were killed, and not one but multiple commanders were killed. That was only possible because of the strong intelligence operation. Israel was able to assassinate these people in Iran, were able to assassinate these people in Lebanon, in Hamas territories such as Gaza and all that. That is because of this factor. Second, it also launches cyber and sabotage mission. Example we have discussed is the Stuxnet, one of the most potent virus attack that has been carried out against Iran's nuclear program. That was a Stuxnet attack. So somewhere it is a cyber and sabotage mission, targeted assassination, as you have discussed. And whenever a threat materializes, Israel focuses upon direct action. You can say direct action preferences. Ideology and strategic intent is simple. Iran believes in revolutionary ideology. It is a state that is run by a theocracy, and it is a state that is also, we can say, believe that Israel should not exist side by side of Palestine. Iran also has complete anti-Israel stance. They see Israel as a devil, Israel and America as a two of devils. Israel also believe, on the other hand, that security first doctrine. It believes that any threat that can pose threat to the citizens, residents, and the territory of Israel should be decimated and destroyed in the first instance. And deterrence is its prime focus, and that is the reason why Israel also maintains its nuclear weapon capability. So overall, we can say that based on the system of governance, based on the control of government, based on the ideology, there is a different strategic culture if you compare Iran and Israel. Now, global versus regional impact, if you look, Israel has nuclear implication because Israel is a nuclear capitalist state. It has implications globally if Israel at some point in time decides to use nuclear weapons against the threat such as Iran. If Iran uses a large amount of drones, large swarm of drones or ballistic missile capabilities that can overwhelm the air defense system of Israel. And if Israel faces a situation where it seems that large number of its population resident might die due to the attack, then it can trigger this. Second, its conflicts are mostly of regional. As of now, Israel's biggest enemy are in the West Asia region itself. Israel does not have any big enemy to talk about through which against which Israel can have direct confrontation anywhere outside of West Asia. So, to large extent, impact till now is regional in nature. Iran also is largely, its action has caused destabilization in the region itself, West Asia. But because West Asia contains 68% of global crude oil, its impact is visible all across the world, especially among the oil and gas consumer countries. Iran is also trying to expand its influence by using proxies we have discussed, and this there is a definitely there is a potential escalation risk in the future. Now, if we try to have a final balanced assessment, what we can say, on one hand, if we talk about Israel, definitely technologically, militarily, it is a superior power. It has very high capability, and also because it is a nuclear capable state, it uses its capability in a controlled manner. Iran, on the other hand, capability wise, it is having lower military capability, largely because its economy, its military, this defense ecosystem has largely been targeted and has been put under sanctions. It has not received a lot of new technology and weapons from any other country in the world. And however, because of its anti-Israel stance, The uncertainty is very high because again, several experts claim that Iran is at the cusp of developing nuclear weapon as such. Short term risk, if we talk about, definitely it is higher because the use of use of missiles and drones by Iran. Long term risk, to what extent Iran can pose to the world, depends on whether Iran is able to follow on nuclear weapon path or not. Because as of now, we are seeing that US and Israel have claimed they have decimated and destroyed, deteriorated Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities, especially at sites such as Natanz and Fordow. So it seems that in the near future, at least, Iran might not be able to get hold on nuclear weapon. Plus, the recent discussion negotiation that is going on, that also is hinging on the single fact that there cannot be any compromise on Iran not being a nuclear weapon state. US and Israel does not want it. Whether Iran agree to it, concede to it, we have to wait, watch and see. Main threat definitely is the escalation between both, because we have seen that the war that US claimed was supposed to last for a couple of days after the killing of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now it has entered its seventh, eighth week as such. And thus, to what extent the war continues, to what extent Iran would be able to inflict damage not only to Israel but other Gulf countries, and that would largely determine that how to what extent the entire situation escalates and which other countries might become part of it. Because US is continuously pressuring European Union, its NATO partners, that they should join war against Iran. So for now, they are trying to overcome this pressure and they have not participated directly. But if the war drags on, it might see also the involvement of NATO, and that can create a much more uncertain future for the region as well as the world. That's all for this particular video. If you like the video, please hit like button, share with last friends, as a subscribe channel for more content. Thank you very much.